Spend enough time watching or reading any type of fiction, and you'll begin to notice certain reoccurring themes and archetypes. There are always good and bad examples of such tropes, but when, like me, you see both in 4 seasons of anime, over and over again, each year, for years, eventually it wears on your spirit. I need to express my frustration somehow, so yeah, now is the time. By his own free will, and not because he is being held captive in any way at all, SquidTheCynic and I are joining forces to expose 8 of the most annoying tropes in anime to us, or also to you, if you agree with our list. We are all familiar with the harem trope, also considered a subgenre since it's often combined with other genres like ecchi, isekai, and slice of life. According to Formula, it features a male lead with the vaguest personality possible and at least 3 women his age, most of the time, all desperate for his attention. A crucial yet unspoken rule of anime harems is that although in more cases than not, the protagonist is attracted to the women surrounding him, he must never act upon it. The harem haver never commits to dating, never romantically pursues anyone even outside of the harem, never does anything that a real person, or at the very least a compelling character, would do in his position. The harem dynamic usually goes something like,
I love him! No, I love him more! Look how attractive I am!
You guys and your jokes. Wait a boom. So yeah, I'm not personally a fan of the average ecchi harem show. Some may prefer there be no sense of progression and that the protagonist remains clueless and single so he's easier to relate to. But why not make him an absolute Chad? Why not make him a scumbag taking advantage of how lucky he is in the romance department? Maybe instead of stumbling into a harem situation, he wins different women over to assemble a harem. Not as easy to root for? Sure. And okay, whatever, not realistic or relatable. But are you seriously going to tell me you find it easier to believe that not 1, not 2, but several conventionally attractive women all want to bear children with this dude at the same time, despite him having no standout traits and being tolerant of them at best, their unwilling victim at worst? I just think it would make harem plots far more interesting if the protagonist was zany, deranged, flawed, anything.
Alright, the first in my anime tropes I hate list is one that I'm having a little trouble describing, and frenemies is the word that comes to mind, but it isn't quite accurate. What I'm referring to specifically is a relationship like Naruto and Sasuke from the Naruto anime, or Deku and Bakugo from My Hero Academia, and it's really a one-sided friendship where one person harbors legitimate hatred towards the other person who keeps persistently claiming that they are in fact friends. Then eventually, they go through a lot, maybe 100, maybe 200 episodes together, and do in fact become friends in the end. And I'm not even mad at this trope in the way you probably are thinking. If anything, I sympathize with the Sasuke or Bakugo type characters. Imagine, if you will, making it very, very clear that not only do you not want to be friends with someone, you actively hate them and wish ill upon them, and yet time and time again they just pop up into your life randomly, insisting that you guys are actually very close. Whenever the hate-filled friend finally breaks down and accepts the stalker weirdo, I'm just sitting there like, oh no, oh lord, he has Stockholm syndrome, someone please save him, please save this little baby boy.
I've always been a sucker for sports anime, especially the kind that are about sports I play and understand. And even if I've never heard of the sport, learning about it through the story is part of the fun. Not to mention the supreme levels of hype. At first you think you're safe. I mean, it's just a show about teenagers tossing around a ball, right? But what I love most about sports anime is how team members' relationships and problems are intertwined with the sport they play. Like how the bonds we form with our teammates can change us for the better, or how hard work and passion lead to success no matter who you are or where you come from. Using sports as a foundation for character drama like that is a near perfect formula for an entertaining show. So perfect, I guess, that almost no anime I've seen for a very long time has bothered to switch things up. Let me clarify. Search the seasonal lists of anime 2010 to present, read the plot summaries, and you will find the following. Character A, lonely and or unmotivated, in insert optional sad sport-related backstory here, discovers or rediscovers sport, and is inspired to join the sport team. The story then follows character A as they get to know the colorful cast of side characters who battle with their inner demons right up to the end, only for their shared love of the sport to save their souls right in time for that final match with the legendary opposing team. If I may throw out a few ideas of my own, how about a story where the main character uses the sport to become famous, or escape an unknown world they found themselves in? Switching up character motivations and the setting of the story is the quickest way to turn stale archetypes into something new. But before I start to feel like I'm teaching some kind of writing class, let's move on to the rest of the list.
Trope number 2 is female characters who start out as real people and then morph into love interest drones when they meet the main character. It's a pretty long name for the trope, but I think that describes it the most accurately. And I guess this isn't actually a problem exclusive to female characters, but I see that far more often than the male counterpart. And the worst part about this trope is that the initial badass female or good character female will oftentimes make a reappearance for comedy purposes, just as a joke. And anime that come to mind that have this particular character trope in them would be Welcome to Demon School, My Hero Academia, or Shokugeki no Soma. That's probably like my least favorite example of it. What's most annoying is that this happens, right? And the character is presented normally at first and then changes after a little bit to this non-character. Don't play me like that. Don't show me someone cool only to then take them away and bring them back occasionally as just a reoccurring joke. Just introduce them as a dumb love interest from the start and boom, no more issues. My expectations have now been properly tempered.
Another common theme in anime I don't like is the other category of self-insert anime protagonists. One that can tie in with harems, but is a trope all its own. An underdog who no one appreciates, wrongly accused, outcast from society. Chosen few know the truth of his unparalleled power. But I mean this character I'm writing has been corrupted by betrayal, disillusioned with authority, so that's why he has no friends. He's a lone wolf. He chooses to not let anyone get too close because he's cool like that. The protagonist is barely even willing to protect the society that cast him out from danger, but he does it anyways, since deep down, really deep down, he's just so kind. You know that thanks to the one specific character who, quote-unquote, sees right through him, and monologues to the audience about how one time they saw the protagonist rescue a feeble kitten from a river. Looking at power fantasy type anime I and many others enjoy, like Overlord, it's clear the issue isn't how powerful the main character is, because that really is fun to watch. Overlord's protagonist is even the villain of his universe with gray morals, but a rapidly growing group of loyal admirers who never question anything he does. I probably have to look further into why this works when another anime that matches my summary, Arifureta, doesn't at all.
Take it in the ass and die!
But I suspect it comes down to, what did the protagonist do to warrant how others treat him? Not only should those on his side have respectable reasons to admire him, those against him should have respectable motivations as well. Too many intended power fantasy protagonists are straight up cruel to everyone around them, trying very hard to seem badass. He may seem to make mistakes or be in the wrong, but really everyone else is just too dumb to understand why he's in fact right. As I said, it's not about the fact that it's a power fantasy, it's about the protagonist being untouchable.
My third trope is one that I know a lot of people are going to agree with. It is talked about constantly in every corner of the internet that discusses anime, and that is the holier-than-thou main character who refuses to kill anyone or freaks out when someone else tries to kill someone. Now, I get it. I understand. Murder is not the ideal solution to your problems. It's kind of lame. It's kind of cringe. So it should always be the hero's last resort, right? In good storytelling, in a hero story, you don't have the hero just go out of his or her way to murder someone. That being said, trying to imply that killing someone who has destroyed the lives of dozens, hundreds, or sometimes even thousands of other people will somehow result in the loss of your humanity goes well beyond idealism and straight into stupidity. There's a difference, right, between elevating yourself to judge, jury, and executioner, and just trying to do the right thing to save as many people as possible. This happens in, I don't know, probably 70% of Battle Shonen, but I think the funniest possible example is actually Batman. I know it's not anime, but fight me, you won't. Imagine, though, being a random citizen of Gotham and seeing that once again, Batman has sent the Joker to Arkham Asylum, and knowing that, oh damn, in 8 days he is going to break out for the 63rd consecutive time and once again wreak havoc on my community, all because a billionaire orphan won't just let the cops shoot this guy.
I'm not the first to point out that comedy in anime doesn't always translate well, or that what certain prominent creators find hilarious is just kind of irritating. You could say it's a culture gap, but I would disagree. Some writers are better at characterization than they are at plot, or better at world building than they are at comedy, and where media comes from doesn't change that, in my opinion. Though I can't understand how behind the scenes you would pick one barely intriguing characteristic and decide it will be the crutch of your anime's sense of humor. Oh look, he's a coward and a pervert, and he yells? If that doesn't get you rolling on the floor, I don't know what will. Not to mention how this trope is a 2-for-1 deal with the other character who has to physically assault him every episode to rein in his shenanigans. You could make a character's goofiness another thing to like about them, or you could make them the butt of the same joke over and over again, until the unfunniness of that joke is all your audience associates with them. Like Zap from Blood Blockade Battlefront, except that character is at least actually funny. Even if this character serves a purpose in the narrative besides being the comedic relief, which is more than I can say for most examples, if you're a fan of them, you'll have to endure all those moments while waiting for something cool or meaningful. It feels insulting, because if you've watched anime that is funny, you know you don't have to sacrifice depth or nuance for comedic relief. I get how you want a contradiction between the seriousness of the main plot and the lighthearted interactions a loud reaction character brings, but I also hate it and wish it didn't exist. I know no amount of complaining will make that happen, but I do feel slightly better, I guess, now that I've ranted about all of this.
Now then, I have saved my least favorite anime trope for last, and that is anime diets. My least favorite trope in anime. I'm not even joking. I'm not trying to pull a meme on you. What I mean by anime diets is not like anime fad diets, what people are doing to lose weight or whatever. I just mean diet in the general sense of what people are choosing to eat. And this is a really big problem in sports anime. I mean, I say really big problem, but people probably don't even notice this, I guess. But for me, this is a really big problem in sports anime, which often show people changing their diet and eating more to help their training. But then they just eat a gigantic bowl of plain white rice. Some examples of this are, it happens in Hinamaru Sumo, it happens in Dragon Ball, Hajime no Ippo does this. There are many more. I know I've seen this dozens, if not millions of times, but I googled anime boy eating simply too dang much rice, and somehow that did not prove nearly as helpful as I expected it to. But as someone who knows the struggle of forcing yourself to eat in order to gain muscle, it is especially annoying to me, I think. Time and time again, someone will be training, putting in the work, and as a part of that, they are eating more food. Makes sense so far, right? Eat big to get big. What makes no sense whatsoever is choosing plain white rice as your extra calories. A 2-cup serving of white rice has what, 500 calories, over 100 grams of carbs, and under 10 grams of protein? A McDonald's hamburger is a better, more weight-friendly option for bulking than a bowl of plain white rice. That's true, by the way. You can actually look that one up. Please, Japan, please just do this one thing for me. Stop showing young boys eating massive amounts of white rice in order to get bigger and stronger. That's all I want from you right now.
Don't forget to check out SquidTheCynic's channel. A big thank you to him for helping me out with this video. It was a lot of fun, despite the pain. And again, despite the pain, I will not be quitting my anime career. Anime never stops. It never stops. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.